Alright, my name is Sam Huckabee and I will be talking about the threat of overfishing the ocean through the view of an ethical lens today. So the first important fact that I want to talk about is how vast the ocean really is. 71% of our world is actually ocean water. So when you think about what's important to protect in this world, the ocean is almost at 3/4 of our world. So that's why that is so important. So what is overfishing? Overfishing is to exhaust the supply of usable fish. So in many of these areas in the ocean, fairly close to shore, because the boats don't want to travel so far out there that they can't get back and gas, and just where the coral reefs are, where the fish are located right now, is they're being overfished. So many government or environmental agencies are wanting to shut this down to let the fish population grow back up. So the two ethical views I'll be looking at today are utilitarianism and ethical egoism. So when we think about utilitarianism, it is what is the best for the vast majority of the people? What is the greater good for the majority rather than the less? So looking at utilitarianism, we think about trawling. Trawling is a type of fishing that's going on in the ocean right now, where large nets are set behind big boats, and they're dragged through the ocean and down to the sand. Approximately 2 to 20 centimeters is how deep they go into the sand. So when we think about this, all of those benthic level organisms are being killed as the nets are dragging through the ocean. Along with trawling, not only are those bottom level organisms being killed, but many fish that are untargeted are also being caught. So smaller fish species that aren't being targeted are being caught and taken out of the ocean, which takes them out of the trophic system, or the food pyramid, as you could say. So those larger fish are not being able to eat on those fish to grow and repopulate. So with utilitarianism, many environmental agencies are taking this kind of view on what's the best for the large majority of the ocean, the fish, the people, is to just protect it and protect it and protect it. So many of these organizations are placing marine protected areas, or placing acts like the Sustainable Fisheries Act, to where they're making areas unable to be fished because they feel like those have been overused and the fish population is very low. So they've placed protected areas on these. Now, with the Sustainable Fisheries Act, it was placed before the 2000s. It's been pretty successful. 23 out of the 36 areas that they've implemented have shown very positive signs of coming back. Now, thinking about utilitarianism in just a larger manner, it's basically just a long-term protecting of the oceans. So when you think about against that, you think about ethical egoism. Ethical egoism is more about the individual, so more about the fisherman. So I took this side of being on the fisherman's side of they're doing this more to make an income, or catch fish to protect their families, to let their families be able to eat. And this is more for just fishing communities on the coastlines of Asia and Japan, and areas where a lot of these overfishing areas are happening. So there was a law passed to where there had to be trackers on boats from 12 meters and on up. So when you think of 12 meters, that is not much more than two of me stacked on top of each other. So that is a very small boat to be out on the ocean. And we're thinking about 12 meters. Those people usually in those boats are not large company fishermen that are taking large amounts of fish out of the ocean. Those are the people that are trying to provide for their families as such. So this was actually negated due to privacy issues, to where these boats fought this because they did not want people to know where they were fishing, because that's where they're having success catching fish and providing. So with that being taken off, the ethical egoists were very happy and ecstatic about not being tracked, because there was no way for the conservation agencies to be able to put a marine protected area in their fishing zones, because they didn't know where they were fishing. So when I think of the ethical egoist as just a fisherman, I think of it less as an economic trade. And that's the big issue with the larger boating operations, the large companies that are catching fish for large companies giant boats that are pulling thousands of fish at a time. That is less what I think about when I'm thinking about the ethical egoists. It's more about the people that are just trying to provide for their families, and that's why I really side with the ethical egoists. It's more about individual success rather than the majority, to where it said in our book, it said, loving yourself can be bad, but also loving yourself is important, because you want to be the good person to help out the full community, but who's going to help you when it really comes down to it? You have to help yourself. You have to provide when it's important. So in conclusion, there's two great ways of looking at protecting your ocean. I think both are very important in certain areas. Some are better in some areas than others. It's very important to protect our ocean because that is almost 3/4 of our world. So in conclusion, the ethical egoist is what I'm going to side with here, but utilitarianism also could be a very important view in some larger areas where larger boats and fishing is happening. Thank you.